Imagine a bat mitzvah. It is supposed to be the happiest day in a Jewish girl's life. She is 12 years old. She has spent months learning to chant the Hebrew text of the Torah. She stands on a plastic chair, clutching the scroll, ready to read. Suddenly, the air is filled with the shrill sound of whistles. Police sirens wail. Hundreds of women in black dresses begin screaming. Men on the other side of a high fence start throwing water bottles, chairs, and dirty diapers over the barrier. The girl keeps reading, trembling, surrounded by a ring of women protecting her with prayer shawls. This is not a scene from a war zone. This is the first day of the Jewish month at the Western Wall, the Kotel. For 35 years, the holiest site in Judaism has been the stage for a bitter, violent, and unresolved battle of the sexes. On one side, the Women of the Wall, a group of feminists, mostly from the Reform and conservative movements, who demand the right to pray out loud, wear prayer shawls, talit, and read from the Torah at the wall, practices traditionally reserved for men in Orthodox Judaism. On the other side, the ultra-Orthodox Haredi establishment. They control the site and view these women not as worshippers, but as provocateurs, desecrating a holy place with performative politics, and caught in the middle, the State of Israel, trying to balance the laws of a modern democracy with the rules of ancient religious law. Today, we are stepping into the most sensitive square mile in the Jewish world. We are asking, who owns the wall? Why is a woman reading a scroll considered a national security threat? And how did a pile of ancient stones become the fault line between Israel and American Jewry? To understand the fight, you have to understand the geography of the plaza. When Israel captured the wall in 1967, it was a narrow alley. They bulldozed the neighboring Mugrobi quarter to create a massive plaza. Almost immediately, they handed control of the site to the Chief Rabbinate and the Ministry of Religious Affairs. The Rabbinate turned the Kotel into an Orthodox synagogue. This distinction is crucial. It is not a national monument. It is a shul, and in an Orthodox shul, men and women must be separated by a barrier called a mekitza. Today, the men's section on the left is large, spacious, and includes the indoor tunnels and arches. The women's section on the right is significantly smaller, about a third of the size, and crowded. But the physical barrier is just the beginning. The real barrier is the Minhag Homakom local custom. The rabbi of the Western Wall has decreed that the local custom is strict Orthodox practice. This means 1. Women cannot wear talit prayer shawls or tefillin phylacteries. 2. Women cannot read from a Torah scroll. 3. Women cannot sing out loud based on the concept of kol isha. 1. That a woman's singing voice is immodest. For decades, this was just the way it was. If you were a Reformed Jew from New York who was used to women rabbis and egalitarian prayer, you just sucked it up, prayed silently, and left. Until 1988. In December 1988, the first International Jewish Feminist Conference was held in Jerusalem. A group of women decided to go to the wall to pray together. They wrapped themselves in talitot and read from the Torah. The backlash was instantaneous. Ultra-Orthodox men physically attacked them. Instead of backing down, the women organized. They formed Neshat Hakatel, Women of the Wall. Their goal was simple: to turn the wall from an ultra-Orthodox synagogue into a national site where all forms of Jewish expression are welcome. For the last 30+ years, on Rosh Chodesh, the first day of every lunar month, they have marched to the wall. And for 30 years, it has been a cat-and-mouse game. The smuggling. Since the rabbi of the war banned bringing private Torah scrolls into the plaza specifically to stop the women, the group has had to get creative. They have smuggled miniature Torah scrolls inside duffel bags, disguised as musical instruments, or even strapped to their bodies under heavy coats. The arrests: we have seen shocking images of women, sometimes elderly women, sometimes leading American rabbis, being dragged away by Israeli police in handcuffs. Their crime: wearing a prayer shawl. To the Western eye, this looks like religious persecution. Why would a Jewish state arrest a Jew for praying with Jewish ritual objects? But to the Haredi eye, this is not prayer, it is a protest. They argue, if you want to pray, pray quietly like your grandmother did. But coming here with cameras, wearing male garments, and singing loudly is just a media stunt to force Reform Judaism down our throats. The conflict became a PR nightmare for Israel. American Jews, the majority of whom are Reform or conservative, were horrified to see their rabbis arrested. Donations were threatened. So, the Israeli government looked for a solution. They looked south. Just south of the main plaza, around the corner of the Temple Mount, is an archaeological park known as Robinson's Arch. It is a pile of massive rocks that fell during the Roman destruction in 70 AD. In 2013, Naftali Bennett, then Minister of Diaspora Affairs, built a temporary wooden platform there. He said, "Here is your solution. The Orthodox keep the main plaza. The egalitarian Jews get Robinson's Arch, separate but equal." They called it Izrat Yisrael, the help of Israel. On paper, it makes sense. It's the same wall, it's the same stones, but in reality, it feels very different. 1. The main plaza is the center of gravity. It is where the soldiers are sworn in. It is where the presidents visit. It feels like the real wall. 2. Robinson's Arch feels like the kids' table at Thanksgiving. It is separated from the main plaza by a high stone barrier. You have to pay an entrance fee usually because it's an archaeological park. It is usually empty. The women of the wall rejected this. They argued, "We don't want to be hidden away in the ruins. We want to be where the people are. We want to be visible." The Orthodox rejected it too. They argued, giving official state recognition to Reform Judaism at the holy site is a slippery slope. Today, they get a platform. Tomorrow, they will want to perform gay marriages at the main wall. In 2016, after years of negotiation led by Natan Sharansky, a historic deal was reached. It was called the Kotel Deal. The plan was ambitious. The Robinson's Arch platform would be massively expanded to be leveled with the main plaza. A single shared entrance would be built so that when you entered the Kotel, you could turn left Orthodox or right egalitarian. The egalitarian section would be managed by a council, including Reform and conservative leaders, giving them official state recognition for the first time. The Israeli cabinet voted to approve it. It was hailed as a miracle of diplomacy. And then, the politics happened. The ultra-Orthodox parties in Netanyahu's coalition threatened to topple the government. They realized that the recognition clause was a Trojan horse for recognizing non-Orthodox conversions. So, in 2017, Netanyahu froze the deal. He walked it back. The American Jewish leadership felt betrayed. Major donors like Isaac Herzog, now president, warned of an irreversible rift between Israel and the diaspora. While the politicians argue, the battle on the ground has evolved. Recently, the Women of the Wall have started a campaign called Tefillin for Women. They set up a booth outside the Dung Gate, the entrance to the plaza, and offer women the chance to put on phylacteries, leather boxes containing scrolls. In Orthodox tradition, men are obligated to wear tefillin. Women are exempt. However, in recent centuries, the Haredi world has moved from exempt to forbidden, viewing it as a violation of gender roles carrying a male obligation. The sight of a woman binding the leather straps around her arm triggers a visceral reaction in the Haredi street. Young yeshiva students often surround the stand, shouting "Shiksa," Gentile woman, and Nazis. They view these women as erasing the distinction between male and female, which they believe is fundamental to Jewish survival. For the Women of the Wall, the act of binding the tefillin is an act of reclaiming their bodies and their spirituality. They argue, "The Torah belongs to all of us. Why is my arm less holy than yours?" The violence has escalated. On Rosh Chodesh, it is now common for the ultra-Orthodox leadership to bus in thousands of seminary girls. They fill the women's section completely at 6 a.m., leaving no physical space for the Women of the Wall to enter. When the WOW group manages to squeeze in, they are met with a wall of noise. The whistleblowing is a coordinated tactic to make it impossible to hear the prayer service. But it gets worse. We have seen hot coffee thrown. We have seen plastic chairs hurled over the mekitzah. We have seen tear gas. The police are in an impossible position. If they arrest the Haredi attackers, they risk a riot. If they arrest the women, they risk a diplomatic crisis with the US. So, they usually form a human chain, separating the two groups of women, creating a mechitza within a mechitza. It is a surreal image. Jewish police officers protecting Jews from other Jews, all while facing the stones of the ancient temple which was destroyed. According to tradition, because of Sinat Chinam, baseless hatred between Jews, the battle for the Western Wall is not just about prayer. It is about the identity of the State of Israel. Is Israel a Jewish state defined by Orthodox law halakha? If so, the wall must be an Orthodox synagogue. Or, is Israel the state of the Jews, a homeland for all Jews, secular, reform, and conservative included? If so, the wall must be a public square. Currently, there is no answer. The wall remains a construction site of identity. If you go to Robinson's Arch today, you will see a quiet wooden deck. You might see a family from Ohio celebrating a bat mitzvah with a guitar. It is peaceful. But if you go 50 meters north, to the main plaza, you will hear the roar of a culture war that has been raging for 30 years. The stones of the wall have seen Romans, Byzantines, Arabs, and Crusaders. They have survived sieges and earthquakes. But they have perhaps never seen a conflict quite like this, where the weapon of choice is a prayer book, and the casualty is the unity of the people who built the wall in the first place. If you want to understand why American Jews and Israeli Jews seem to be speaking different languages, don't look at the Knesset, look at the wall. If you found this breakdown of the Holy Civil War helpful, make sure to subscribe. Next, we are going to look at the Holy Fire, and why the most miraculous event in Christianity requires a police escort to prevent a massacre. Thanks for watching.